All right. Let's get this started.
What's up, guys? Episode what?
Hey, everyone.
13?
13.
Lucky 13.
Yeah, Lucky 13, man. Yo, dude, this topic's going to be very interesting. We're talking about Olivia Chow.
Our new elected mayor.
Our new mayor.
Congratulations, Olivia Chow.
Congrats.
Yes.
Look at Richard's Richard is very
ready to fire up.
Richard's like, hold me back. Hold me
Richard's
back.
ready to fight, man.
I worked out this morning for this. Look at him.
All jacked.
He's all swole.
Let's go.
Hey, Rich, Vaughn, we have a different mayor, just saying.
Oh, you can move. Oh, yeah, you can move.
Yeah, come up to Kleinberg, yeah.
Yeah, I might have to with Olivia Chow in the lead.
Today we got Woody back. It's been a while, which is nice.
Oh, yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to the
you,
show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When he comes out, if there's wine or if there's like beer, he's there.
All right, we just had a Dawes event, so like a condo event for whatnot. That was fun.
Yeah.
But he didn't go, did he?
Yeah, he was there, man.
Oh, that one.
Not the rooftop one.
Yeah,
but the one
not
that
the
we
rooftop one.
the one
Okay.
that we did.
Our private event, 5-star.
We did a private event for our clients, friends and family.
Let's get started, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay, so this topic's very divided. Even us, I think some of us are, divided on her policies.
Bring it on.
Yeah. This will be interesting, man. So she won. It was kind of close. It was closer than people expected with bylaw, right? People expected like a landslide. But anyways, so the first thing is Olivia is very, very heavily favors renters in the city.
Yeah. So how does Olivia Chow
Let's read the platform. I mean, like let's read out what she is for, and then we'll talk about it.
Let's identify her.
What is the
platform
issue
on housing?
Yeah.
Yes. So on a high level, we want to talk about Olivia and how it affects real estate.
Yeah, this is all
what
going
are her
to be
points?
how Olivia will affect Toronto real estate. Toronto, or Ontario rather, is very renter friendly already. Like they favor tenants a lot already. And now she's adding on more. So landlord rights are becoming less and less. And that's another debate.
Maybe they'll bring back like rental guidelines that are to 2018 or newer. They'll bring a guideline for those.
That's what she's talking about. That she's going to bring that in. Well, I mean, she doesn't have the power to. Like that's mostly Doug Ford.
Provincial, yeah.
But her plan is to urge the provincial people to try and bring it back. I don't know how, but she's all for that. First she's going to do is she's going to scale up the Toronto tenant support programs to fight evictions and illegal rent increases. Okay, so that's one of them. So I want to point out that there are bad landlords as well. There's bad landlords, there's bad tenants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? But most of her rules just help. It's just one-sided.
They favor tenants.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What are some of those rules?
What are some of those rules? She wants to help fight evictions, right? So she wants to build up a bigger team, I guess, make more bylaw enforcement officers to help tenants. Mm-hmm. So she's going to bring more people into that. I understand that people could get evicted by renovations. I know that's a thing. But how big of that problem is, I'm not sure. But she's going to spend a lot of money to bring a team to prevent that.
All right. So how do we feel about strengthening tenants' rules or tenant rights?
Tenants has got a lot of rights already.
They have a lot of rights already.
And the Ontario Landlord and Tenant Board is more like the Ontario Tenant Board, because right now it takes at least in practice 6 months plus to kick out a tenant that's not paying
prior to
rent.
COVID too. That was prior to COVID.
Yeah.
Now
It's backlogged
now
at least
actually
a year
as well.
Yeah. 99% of tenants are good. 99% of landlords are good.
Yeah. You run into a bad apple, then they just abuse the system. Like
Exactly.
they take advantage.
Yeah. So it should be balanced. There should be protection on both sides. Now, the landlord tenant board, that's a different issue because that's provincial. But Olivia's talking about just Toronto.
Just within the borders, right, of Toronto.
Well, I mean, part of Olivia's platform is that like she was going to create more affordable rental properties on government land or on city land.
Yep.
So, I mean, like she's also talking about trying to get the homeless out of like, parks, out of homeless shelters, right, and trying to get people into like proper like homes. Part of it is the 25,000 units that she's talking about creating.
Yeah.
And the thing is that like even if she creates it and if she moves all these homeless people's into these units, what does that create again, right? That's going to create a lot of homeless or a lot of low income housing or a lot of low income people living in one specific area. Now, what does that remind you of? Going back like 11, 12 years.
Yeah, let's talk about that plan. So Olivia Chow plans to build 25,000 new rent-controlled units owned and operated by the city over 8 years.
Well, why do you think that's a bad thing though? Because most land in Toronto is developed by private sector, right?
Right.
So why is that a bad thing that Toronto can control this?
So
Take
it's
their
fine.
land,
It's good.
build something,
It's good, but
and then
like,
control the rent that.
Okay, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have homes or we shouldn't create programs for homeless people, right? Because they need a place to live.
Low income.
Or low income housing,
Yeah.
right? Or low income people,
Yeah.
right?
I think Richard is alluding to Regent Park.
Correct.
Like Regent Park, as we all know, Toronto Community Housing. And what did they do? They tore it down. They put mix because they feel that communities are better served by integrating everyone into with different levels of income into an area so that everyone maintains their property. And so you get to interact with one another
Right.
instead of
You're not
segregation.
segregated,
So
right, yeah.
what's the stigma around Regent Park back then?
Well, it's unsafe, right? That was the feeling because for some parts it was kind of like if you're outside of that community, you don't want to go in there because you don't know you don't know them. They're not very welcoming of like outside. So it's like, they have their own little bubble.
Right. So we're just going back to that then, right?
Yeah.
And the problem I see, okay, Toronto already has plans to build 10,000 of these. This is before Olivia. And in the last 5 years, nothing was done.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing was done.
Right.
And now Olivia wants
I'm
to
sure
double
money
down
was
on that.
spent though. I'm sure money was spent, but nothing was done.
Yeah. So now she's doubling down
Yeah.
on this. So, you're absolutely right. We have, before we had Regent Park and government is not, they don't have the best track record of maintaining and keeping these housing, up to standard. It's been proven that private is better.
Well, like the mix would be better too, because we've always had not always, sorry, but lately they've been having the condos have new condos. They have a certain percentage of rental units.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a better
10%.
plan. Yeah, 10% of each building. So let's say a building has 500 units, 50 units has to be allocated. Again, it's not very much, but it is something, and it does help them integrate into the buildings. So, and to the community as well.
Right. Well, it creates more rental opportunities for people or supply.
But it takes a long time. So let's say it takes a condo 5 years to build. There's only 50 units for a 500 suite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little slow.
But here's the obstacle is that people voted Olivia Chow in because she thought, she's going to create all this new housing opportunities for people who are struggling with trying to get into rental property now.
Mm-hmm.
But if these 25,000 units that she's creating, she's talking about moving all these homeless people into these different housing and moving away from the parks and ravines and libraries and whatever, right? What's going to happen with the people that actually did vote, hoping that like she'll change like affordable rental properties for people, right? It's so like people miss that, right? You hear the platform, it sounds like, that sounds great. You're actually doing something for the lower income people that needs
Not just for the rich.
housing.
That's the idea, right?
But yeah, like what can she solve? Like
So
there's only so
you
much
say she
can
only
actually
won
solve.
because of the housing promise.
Well, she spoke to a lot of the lower income people.
That's a big part of it, of why she won, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was her main focus of her
Yeah.
campaign. But you're saying
Well, housing is a problem in Toronto regardless.
It is a problem.
Correct.
We have to all recognize that it is a problem.
Yeah.
But whether these policies are the correct way to handle them, it's
Yeah.
What other
debatable.
alternative do we have to, because there's a lot of lower income people in Toronto that want to stay in Toronto but are being gentrified.
I honestly
They're
think
pushed out.
it's not a one level government solution.
It's not something Olivia
it's-
Chow can control by
I
herself.
don't think one level government. It's hard to crack this.
yeah. But what we're saying is her policies don't end up making anything more affordable.
Right.
So
They don't.
So I'm no government policy specialist, neither are any of us.
Oh yeah, let's just say that
So-
we're not experts
Personal
at this.
opinion.
We're just critiquing.
We just
what's
read
going on
internet comments and we just
We're just trolls. We're trolls. So
We're
let's
just
feel
six guys giving our point of view on this platform of our new mayor.
Yeah.
So let's talk pros, cons, potential solutions. So number one thing, we definitely want to move away from another region park.
That's not healthy.
So
I don't
so
think
that's a
healthy.
negative.
Yeah.
A pro is yes, more housing. I mean, and it's on government land. I'm personally okay with that. I think most of us believe that everyone should have a roof over their head. Kind of the reason why we're in this business. Potential solutions.
most of my issue comes from there's currently 43,000 government-owned units in Toronto, and they don't have a good history of being managed well.
Right, I know. It's
So,
true.
so you'd
It's
say
true.
maybe a combination of government and private working together?
No, I think government should not be involved in housing. Yeah, they have their policies and regulations, but I think building, I think private is still better.
I think that the red tape for people or developers to actually get things complete, it's gotta you gotta trim that down.
But that's her platform, right? That was her platform.
Who is Olivia's?
Olivia's.
Yeah, but she
right?
didn't really say
And
how.
I don't think there is an immediate turnkey solution to that.
That's
Well,
not
I
how the
think- I think
government.
it's-
That's not how the government works.
Yeah.
they don't tell you how.
But she did acknowledge what Kenny was saying, that there are so many mismanaged properties, government-owned properties, that are not doing anything right now. And she wanted to address that at that level, right? She was saying that for her platform, she wanted to cut the red tape, basically audit the whole system and clean house, right? Kind of like Ford's gravy train.
Oh no, Ford's saying this is Gravy Train 2.0 now.
Yeah, you remember that? The gravy
no,
train.
this is I'm talking
No,
about Doug
but-
Ford. He's talking about Olivia Chow being like, if she got voted in, and she did, it's Gravy Train 2.0,
Well,
right? Because
you got to clean it up. I get it. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, she's an NDP, right? And NDPs, and again, not trying to get political, we are talking politics here, but their platform has been primarily, the Robin Hood theory, right? So if you like the Robin Hood theory or not, right, it generally take more money from the rich and give it to the poor, right? And that's exactly what she's doing, right?
The problem is her promises seem good on paper, but there's a lot of side effects that are not talked about. Example, like she's making tenants have more rights, right? So as a small time landlord, I'm not talking about like BlackRock and these big corporations. I'm talking about like the average Joe investor. Would you rent out your unit knowing all these rules that protect these tenants? You have no rights as a landlord. Well, not no rights, but very few.
It's very
Would you
limited.
take-
Yeah.
Why would landlords take the risk? They invested so much money, put down a down payment, and are mortgaging this property. Why would they take the chance of renting it out? And if they get a bad tenant, they're so screwed.
Yeah. But you're saying so the landlords, this is going to deter
Exactly. It's gonna
investors from
deter-
actually getting into the market in general?
people will buy real estate regardless. But
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean
my
is
point.
there will be less supply in the rental pool.
I see where you're getting at, because I've already seen some of these people, like some of these small time landlords, where they had a bad tenant in the past, and they're like, screw it, I don't want to get into the rental market. I'd rather put this on Airbnb.
Yeah.
And then now that's one less unit being rented out, and then now the
less
rental
supply.
rental market is just shrinking because there's no demand for it anymore.
Well, to be honest, we still have a big challenge, right? Is that our population growth in Toronto is still growing very
It hasn't
rapidly,
stopped. Yeah, it hasn't stopped.
right? And that is the biggest problem, is that we have all these people that's coming in,
Not enough houses.
not enough housing.
So I think overall, to wrap up this section, I think more homes good. The way they go about it could be better. What about thoughts on the vacant tax going from 1% to 3%?
Yeah, that's her entire base of supporting all these new programs, is to raise the vacant tax from 1% to 3%. Now, my only issue is that the 1% vacancy tax just came to effect, and we don't know exactly how much revenue it brings into the city.
Right.
So she's
too new,
basing
yeah.
all
Yeah.
her entire platform on unknown revenue.
It's not even calculated yet. We don't even know how much.
I think they calculated was 2,100 units that are vacant right now in Toronto, based on several of their debate platforms that they were talking about.
Who are coming up with these numbers though?
She is.
Like-
well, her platform, her
no, like
campaign,
the
right?
21
this is where
100,
the city,
these
the
are
city,
stats,
the
right?
city stats.
City
yeah.
stats.
Yeah,
Okay.
but what did she say? It says she brings in 45 million or
Yeah.
something.
So based on the increase from 1% to 3%, right? They're generating $45 million more.
Okay.
of revenue per year. That's what you
Correct. That's what
her
I understood
platform.
from what she was saying.
Okay.
Now, okay, so here's the other thing too. Like this is based on today's numbers, right? So this will discourage more vacant homes. So in the end,
Right.
the vacant number will go down and less
one wants to
revenue
pay
will be bringing in.
3%. Yeah.
Which means it won't be 45.
It won't be
Well,
45 in the
be-
future. It'll
Yeah.
keep going down.
Really?
Okay,
So-
so then where are they going to compensate the difference then?
But that's also
Raise your
a
property
taxes.
taxes.
Property taxes.
Property taxes.
Everyone, whoever voted for her.
Yeah, I think-
Don't look
Get
at
ready
me,
to
man.
pay more money.
Yeah.
Get your wallets ready. I'm telling you.
Don't look at
it's
me.
good.
but she haven't mentioned
There's no
exactly how
number.
much.
There's no number, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it 1%? Is it 10? Is it 20?
Yeah.
Well, to her defense, she doesn't really know like how much she's going to need to increase it by.
Well, she didn't know. She didn't really have a budget.
Well,
to be
because
honest.
rates change, interest rates, employment, all these things. But last year, the city of Toronto property taxes went up 7%. Was it
I don't know.
from the previous year?
It just feels like a
Someone
lot
back me up
more
there.
taxes.
I heard that 7%. It went up 7%.
Are you
Yeah,
sure?
you guys live in the city of
You gotta
Toronto,
fact
right?
check that.
Vaughn.
Well, no,
Yeah, that's pretty high.
I
Actually,
heard it on
7%
CBC.
is pretty
I don't think it
high.
was that
Was
high.
it 7% from last?
Dude, check.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We will.
I don't know
We will
that.
fact check.
Yeah.
Liar.
Let's cut that off now.
No, I'm leaving that in, man. Rod says 7%.
7%.
No, I heard.
You know,
I heard. Inside joke.
CBC.
said,
Inside joke.
heard,
Okay,
and
whatever.
said, and repeated.
Let's move on.
But a fun, just a funny aside. One of my clients were recently reached out to by the city and charged the vacant tax. Both houses were under construction, so he got slapped with the tax, and he had to fight it. And he said, "Look, there's a construction permit open for both these properties. How are you charging me a vacant tax?"
Oh, well, it's because they probably didn't respond back to that survey.
Yeah, did he do it the online thing?
No,
to
he
respond back?
No, he didn't.
I'm pretty sure you didn't.
He's
So-
not really good on that.
Yeah, so
Okay,
that's
so
probably
that's
why.
why-
There's,
you
there's
got
a
the
process.
1%
I know
tax.
there's a process, right?
Yeah.
So you can dispute it, and ultimately, if it's vacant, it's vacant. If it's not, it's not. They're not going to charge you something that's actually not vacant, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that
It's
house is not
vacant
even
land.
livable. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
If it's under
So-
construction, you
so
can't
I'm
even
sure
live in it.
he's.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's fine.
The other thing is she wants to bring back rent control, and she's gonna try and push forward to do that. I'm completely against rent control. It sounds good on paper, but the consequences of that are it's the opposite.
What are the consequences of that?
If you have a landlord that wants to rent out their unit and it's rent controlled, they're going to be a little bit more hesitant. It may not go into the supply pool. And the other thing is, let's just say you rent out a place and it was rent controlled, and the tenant's been living there for a long time. They're paying under market. So the landlord is like, "Oh man, this is hurting me, right? Because he's under market. It's been so long." You would tend to neglect that property, right?
Yeah.
What's the incentive? So
Well,
this
yeah.
is just human nature, I would say.
There's a lot of problems with under market rent, right? So I mean, I have a house that I've been trying to work on, trying to get this property sold, but I have a tenant that's in this house that is
They're
paying
never moving.
well
moving.
below
Yeah.
market rent. Okay, and she refuses to leave. And we talked to paralegals. Paralegals are like, okay, well, best thing to do is just offer cash for keys. And literally, we offered, like my clients, they offered $25,000.
So that's 2 years. 2 years of rent. Might be 1 or 2 years.
$25,000.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money up
regardless.
front.
It is maybe 1 year of rent, right? And $25,000, and she's paying, to be honest, like she's paying $1,400 right now
Oh my
for
God.
a 3-bedroom like unit in a triplex, right? So like she's like she obviously is like, well, I'm paying such a great rent right now, and you
How
can't
much?
evict me.
How many square feet?
You can't replace that though. It
Well,
doesn't
the
matter.
size one.
You just can't replace that.
I don't know how
Is it
much
a big
square,
space?
but I mean, I'd probably, if I was to guess, it would probably be about
You can't even get one bedroom.
800 square feet of living. I mean, it's 2 stories.
Yeah.
Oh,
$1,400.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Airbnb,
Regardless of that, like
chopping it
I
up.
can't.
Yeah, they
the
do
point
that.
is that like I
People do
can't
that.
get this property sold because
You can't.
she refuses to leave,
Yeah.
and we can't get the property sold because like if a buyer wants to come in and say, okay, well, I have to take over the landlord. I'm sorry, I'll take over the tenants, and the tenants are paying this market rent.
Although market
My
rent.
cap rate is so low, I can't
Right.
make sense of it.
Unless you live in That's the only way. Like,
But there's 3 units. So
That's
like,
true.
even if you
gotta
say,
move them
okay,
somewhere
even if you
else.
say, oh, I want to move into your unit, right? The landlord tenant board is going to be like, well, why did you need to move into this unit?
It's
Seriously,
very hard.
That's
It's
how they
very
would challenge
hard.
you, right? It's like, why do you need to move into this unit? So this problem is like, it's ongoing. Like, okay, I don't want to get too much detail into this whole deal, but like, it's, even if we were to sell it for like under market value, the cap rate still doesn't make any sense.
No.
Right. So it's ridiculous. But anyways, that's going back to Kenny's point in that having rent control is actually a bad thing. I mean, you can't outrageously increase the rent. I mean, that's not fair to tenants. But also, like, you can't like cap it at such a low rate where it's below inflation.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's a big problem. Yeah.
Why would the owner care about maintaining the property when they're losing money? For
Couple
example,
of
They have
every
no
month?
money to fix.
Yeah, they have no money to
They
fix
have
it.
no money to fix. Yeah.
So it'll be neglected, and it sounds good for the tenant too. But in a sense, aren't those tenants trapped? They can't move anywhere else
Yeah.
because they're paying this low rate.
Right.
It feels like they're forced to live there forever now.
Yeah, I've actually had some scenarios where I have a client that was looking for an investment property out in Oshawa, and some of these units are so rough, but I know that their rent is like $800, $900. Like, landlords will not come in and renovate the whole unit because they don't have the money to do so. It's like their unit's like, oh, this is a bad landlord. It's not their fault. It really isn't. It's like they don't have money to actually fix certain things.
I think government shouldn't really be involved in that. I think there should be a free market, and things could balance out that way, I think. So
Yeah, I think COVID showed us this. There's an equilibrium between supply and pricing. And I think the government, since they can't solve the solution of adding supply of rental units to the market, they're going to do a bandage solution with the rent control because they don't have a real solution for it.
Well, I think rent control, there should be some level of rent control, but at least have rent control like to keep up with inflation.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever the inflation is, that's
Like,
what you're
what's
allowed to increase your rate by.
1.6%? Like, you can increase it $50.
Well, this year was a 2.5, 220 for 2023.
Yeah,
2.5.
they didn't do an increase.
So
the
if
year
you're
previously,
paying $2,000 a month right now, right, or even less, because during COVID people were paying like $1,800 for one bedroom, right? What's 2%, 2.5% on
Nothing.
It's maybe like $50.
Inflation 6%.
Right. Right. So how is it fair to the landlord? It's not. It does make economic sense for the landlord.
Well, the landlord's actually losing money because everything went up except for rent.
Well, if property taxes are going to go up,
Well, property taxes are going to
Okay,
go
so
up.
they went up 5.5% this year, according to
That's not
Tory.
7 though.
I'm
just saying.
clarifying. I'm clarifying. 5.5, not 7. Okay.
Fact checking now.
Fact check. You want me to fact check? Okay. There you go.
But
It'd be funny if I edit that part out.
All right, let's move on.
Anyways, okay. So the issue is we have too much demand and not enough supply. That's what's causing the price. And, this is obviously out of Toronto's control. It's, Trudeau and the federal government bringing 1 million people into Canada, and probably half, or 45% are going towards Toronto. So we just really need more housing. Now, Olivia has stepped up and says she's going to have $100 million to fund the government that, and they'll buy existing buildings and make them and convert them into affordable housing. And these are not just like single family homes. I'm guessing these are probably like bigger multi-unit buildings, right?
I just thought of something. So you know how right now Olivia Chow is trying to fix a problem that the Canadian government created for us, rather than they're not really supporting us. They're bringing all these people in, and we're not getting any of the support. We got to fix our own problem.
Yeah. That's another.
Well, that's what Kenny's saying.
That's another topic, right? It's out of
Right.
her control.
Let government. They
Doesn't
should
that-
be in.
that kind of rings a
involved,
bell,
right?
right?
I mean, Olivia did say that she has a plan where she's going to put in
We need
X amount of
some-
dollars, and then she needs to get the provincial and the federal government to also
to help,
like.
because they created a big problem for us, and why do we have to solve it?
Yeah.
Well, she can't solve it alone.
Well, it's impossible to be solved by just
Right
municipal
now, you
government
can't.
alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So basically, not only is she's planning to build new buildings, she's planning to buy existing buildings, convert them, and then transfer it off to nonprofit or indigenous housing providers.
I mean,
With the surplus that Toronto has.
Surplus? I don't know. Is there a surplus?
No, I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. Dude, your face. I couldn't read your face.
Poker face, man. Poker face.
Plays
Is there a
poker.
surplus for you? What? Why do you look so serious?
No, but yeah.
Kenny got trolled.
I did.
Take some of your own medicine.
But like, realistically, it's like, you know, we're trying to come up with all this money that doesn't seem to be existing. So realistically, if you live in Toronto, you're actually being punished for a problem that we didn't create. That's my thinking now. It's like, hey, you know, why don't Olivia Chow should be working, the Ontario Premier should be working Trudeau to get more funding from them because they created a bigger problem that we can't solve alone.
Yeah, it's going to take all 3 levels of government to get the situation fixed.
I mean, we're facing the same problem as Vancouver. So, you know, we are the biggest populations.
They actually don't let you come to Toronto or like some of the larger cities. They try to diversify, like send people to Ottawa or Calgary, Saskatchewan. They incentivize those cities, but they eventually migrate to Toronto after.
Well, they don't have to
maybe a year
stay
or two.
there forever.
I actually saw a documentary. They will, as soon as they land in, for example, Quebec,
I think it's Quebec. It's
they
the
take the
highest.
same flight right to Toronto. They don't even leave the airport. They're on the next flight to Toronto.
On paper, they're landing there, but
Well,
then
I
boom.
think,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of places, like for example, if you go to like Nova Scotia or if you go to New Brunswick, you get your PR much easier.
Oh, that's
And
the
then-
loophole.
Yeah.
And then
You
once
go
they
to
get their
a different city.
PR,
Go back
then
to
they
Toronto,
then they move over to
This is where the
Toronto.
jobs are.
Yeah.
Right? Everything's here.
So we all agree that we need more housing, but
Oh, yeah,
is her way of doing it the correct way? I'm not sure. Now, I do agree that she says that she wants to loosen up the regulations and
Building regulations?
make building more easier to do along the main streets,
from developers.
which makes sense. But how is she going to tackle that remains to be seen.
Next subject, luxury tax for homes over 3 million. I think she wants to increase the land transfer tax for them.
1 to 3%, right?
I think Mitzi Hunter actually talked about this in one of the debates. She talks about like I forget what her term is, but like she's locking in like people who want to upgrade but don't want to upgrade now because they have to pay extra tax,
Yeah.
Agreed.
right?
Like,
And then that creates, you know, a ripple problem because now people have no more housing to move into because they don't want to move up.
they can't
Exactly.
move up. They can't move up.
yeah,
Well,
because
they can't, just not at the 3
it's not that they
million
can't,
and
they
up
just don't
level.
want to because
Yeah.
they don't see the value in it.
Yeah.
because let's be honest here, most homes are in the $1 million range. Even condos
Yeah.
are going for $1 million.
People are moving less. So
Yeah.
people are staying put now.
So what would that create when you have extra cash? You might buy more housing and creates more demand.
Especially in the short term.
good point.
A lot of
That's
people
a good
do-
point.
right?
I
You should
never
buy-
thought about that.
You should buy
Because-
all the homes under 3 million right
That's
now.
right. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like if you were a bank of mom and dad and you have the extra cash, what would you do? You would buy more housing for kids.
Right now.
right now, yeah.
But that's under 3 million.
Yeah.
There's plenty of condos.
And what? There's it goes up to 20 million, like the luxury tax.
I think that's
Realistically,
right.
how many 20 million homes are in
Yeah,
Toronto?
exactly. Yeah.
Unless
It's
you're
not
living
on the
in,
bridle
like, bridal
path.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how many of those, right?
Oakville.
That's a
But how many of
super
those
small
transactions
percentage.
happen in a year? Like
That's
I,
a
Yeah,
very
you're
small
right.
percentage.
That might be meaningless. That whole length, that the whole tax on the 3 million up might make
Again,
it
it's
go
all-
lower.
it's
It
all
might-
presentation,
it's,
right?
It's
Yeah.
fluff, right?
It's all
just
presentation for
it's
her
pillow talk, right?
to win the election.
Well, she won.
Well,
There you
good
go.
job,
Hey,
right?
There you
But
go.
now Torontonians are going to pay for
Yeah.
it.
But
I don't-
like, look, what percentage of your deals are really 3 million up, right? Like,
No, what's your
It's
largest
kind of once in the
transaction you
blue
did?
moon kind of thing.
Right.
Because it's not, they don't move
Like,
very often.
that's what I'm saying, right? That market is, luxury market is, specific, very small.
It's too bad they can't.
Very small for the average
niche.
buyers.
She can't tax any businesses. It's out of her jurisdiction. Like some of the large businesses, they're out in Vaughan.
Well, her platform was
Hill.
purely all around housing, or it felt pretty much around housing, right? Very little on like developing new opportunities within Toronto to develop Toronto further.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's out of our topic here because we're talking about real estate.
So she also talked about income tax taxing. Like once you hit a certain bracket, they tax you harder. That's what she was saying, right? 250,000.
No. She's saying like, well, I mean, the NDP or most of these like Democratic type of parties, they generally would want to tax like the richest, right? And
Which is not the worst thing because a lot of them don't pay. They
Right.
have a lot of tax shelter.
But okay, let me ask you this: like, what is then the 1%? What's the richest?
What is the 1% actually?
So the 1% would be people that are paying. What's the highest tax bracket right now?
54,
And where how much money do you need to make for
220.
you for well 220,000, right? 220 plus.
Mhm.
So if that's the 1%, if that's the top tier earners,
But
who's paying that? Like most of the
people-
wealthy are sheltering everything in corporations.
they don't even pay themselves salaries.
So exactly. So they'll maybe show that they're making like 50, 60,000, maybe 80,000 at most.
Well, so like basically all the accountants now, they have their work cut out for them. They have to make sure that everyone is under that bracket, and that tax doesn't even apply.
Well, if you're working for a company and you're making 200 some thousand,
Well, salary, then
you can't do nothing about that, right? So you're always going to get screwed.
Yeah. So business owners are not getting screwed.
Yeah.
The
This
wealthy.
is why the middle class is always
Yeah.
getting screwed.
Yeah, the wealthy are not getting
They're
screwed.
not. They're not getting
It's-
taxed.
It's
They're not getting taxed.
It's the individuals going to the office, the people doing their 9 to 5s. They're the ones getting screwed
Well,
here.
I mean, not every individual is making 225,000, but the ones that do, they probably they have other ways of sheltering. There's other ways, so there's always going to be loopholes. So I feel like that's kind of a fluff. It's not going to affect a lot of people.
Well, it's not
Once you
going to
have
really
that-
affect the people that are actually hiding their money that you're talking about earlier. It's actually going to affect the people that are really like middle class earners, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to affect the middle class. That's going to it's going to hurt everyone's pocket. Like that's in the middle class. The top percent earners are really like they're already smart with their money. They know how to disguise it. They know how to hide it. They know how to move the money
Well,
around.
they're effective tax planning.
Well, good for them. I mean, not that like, honestly, like we live in a bit of a communist society here. It feels like we get taxed everywhere.
Yeah. And regulations. Yeah. Rules.
I mean, we don't even get to spend 50% of our money that we earn.
Yeah. You go anywhere else outside of Canada, like you get so much more like net income.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole different topic.
I know.
Anyways,
I know. Just saying.
Yeah.
But strictly to housing, let's all agree, I think we all agree, that most of her policies do not make them necessarily more affordable.
It's not very landlord friendly. It's not very owner friendly, I'd say.
Yeah.
But it is like for tenants,
Oh, it's great for tenants.
they're very happy, right? And I think that's a lot of the people that did vote her in.
But what are the stats though? Like, is it 40% renters and then the other owners, or is it 50-50? Like, what is it?
I don't know the stats, to be honest.
I don't know, actually. That's a good.
Yeah. You notice
a
how I
good
didn't
stat.
make up a number, Rod?
Open question. Crickets.
It's 8%. 8%.
It's just 7%.
It's 9%, you troll.
Just throw numbers out.
Trolls.
Rod, do you know what the problem was, Rod? You have to say it with confidence and
I
conviction.
know. I need to have a poker face like you. There's a surplus. Kenny's like, hell yeah.
Got me, man. I was so confused.
No, but honestly, like, you know what? Like, there's going to be a lot of pros and cons with Olivia Chow. You know, it's going to be like any other politician, to be honest. But I feel like with Olivia Chow, like our taxes are going to be increased way more.
Do you see any benefits to having her as a mayor?
I mean, I feel like she's never had any real experience as a leader. She's always been in the opposition, always. Like even when Jack Layton was the federal opposition, right? Like it's always opposition. She was never a leader. She was a city
She's
councilor.
never won.
well, yeah, but I mean, like,
She's got 30 years
this is
of
the first
office
time,
experience.
This is the first time she's actually in a leadership role.
But she's not new to public office. I mean, 30
She's not.
years, MP, city councilor, budgetary commission. Like,
I can say Olivia, she's reliable. There shouldn't be any sex scandals. Since I don't mind.
We're gonna cut that out.
no, Ken's gonna keep that in.
No, we're gonna keep that in for sure because sex scandal is one thing.
She's
but
here to stay.
hey,
for her term.
hey, Tori was able to deliver, but Olivia here, she's here to stay.
Stop
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So Steve's saying there won't be any sex scandals.
Yo, there's equality in that
So rare.
realm too, so no
Hey,
comment.
man, you
Well,
never
that's
know,
free.
man. You
That's
never
free.
know.
Fair
What are you gonna
game.
do?
Yeah.
Fair game.
What if she
Yo, she is a
doesn't,
mayor
man?
now, so you don't know. You don't know.
Should Tori have stepped down?
He did his job
did his
well.
job.
To be
He did
honest,
his
I don't
job
think he
well.
should have stepped down. I mean,
I
I have my
mean,
opinion on it. I feel like
Does
within,
that dictate his ability to run the city? That's. I don't think so. Sure, it's a scandal, whatever, but it doesn't dictate his ability
but
to do
probably
his job.
integrity wise, like he made a poor decision, so that may
Poor
reflect.
personal decision.
Yeah.
Poor personal decision. But does it affect his work? His ability to do his work?
She worked for him, so I'm sure it did affect his work.
I mean, overall, I think it's.
Said that with a poker face.
What's
too.
wrong with Woody today, man?
I mean, overall, I think he's.
Okay, with your pants on backwards. Like, Woody.
It's that kind of
Well,
day.
Okay, listen,
unlike
listen.
Jack, unlike Tori, I kept my pants on.
Oh.
Wow.
There's the mic drop. We were waiting for that.
Hey, Olivia is not wearing any. She's not wearing any pants.
What are we talking about again?
So what about, let's talk about policies again.
So real estate,
Shots-
man.
okay,
guys.
shots
so-
fired, shots
okay.
fired.
All things real
Okay,
estate.
there's a few ways to fix the pricing problem. One is to increase supply. One way of doing that is to build more in Toronto, right? But one problem we have in Toronto is our NIMBYs, right? People who don't want to build in their backyard. Is he? Is Richard a NIMBY?
What?
No, I don't think so.
What do you put at me for?
He's just picking fights with everybody today, Woody.
I live in a condo,
understand.
bro.
He's like,
Yeah, he lives in a condo.
Don't build in my backyard. What
he's like
backyard?
Olivia, not in my
Land.
city.
Like what land?
He lives in the condo in North York. I don't
He
get
has
it.
no backyard.
I rented my balcony out.
That's my balcony.
$100 a square foot.
This is my balcony. That's your balcony.
If she could somehow create more, influence more builders to build along the main streets, I think that'll definitely help. But it doesn't sound like she's.
No, but influence with developers is the city can give any developer is
Tax
less
cuts.
Development
like
charges.
lower development charges.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was gonna bring that up because, like, do you think with new developments now, do you think our development fees are gonna go up or down?
Yeah. No. Okay. So, but who ultimately suffers if the development fees go up?
Well,
And it's the buyers.
It's
The buyer.
Well, it's the buyers, but again, she's trying to target the new landlords, which are these buyers, and she's also targeting the middle class, which is also these same buyers.
But here's
It's
my
the same
point,
pool
though.
of people.
But here's my point. So if you lower these development charges to any for-profit developer, what's your natural thing to do?
Pocket it.
It's more money for us,
But
unless you mandate it. If you say, "Hey, these
the
savings-
development charges that they collect, it's our money. It doesn't affect the builders, but
but builders naturally
they actually lose
they-
revenue as well.
But
from the
they
city.
would actually charge market rates because that would disrupt previous buyers. Let's say for example, if you have a multi-building development, like master plan development community, you sell three buildings already sold out. Coming on fourth or fifth building, city decides to cut development charges. So all of a sudden, you drop the prices on the new build.
You can't.
I mean, how many times have you seen
So
development
who
fees
does
get cut?
So who does
No, all
Oh,
the
right,
previous
right.
builders would be super pissed.
right? So who this really benefits? Just the owners of
The builder.
developers.
The builder.
So
Like it-
so cutting development charges, I don't see
I don't,
that.
I don't see
being
that as
viable.
helping the overall
Yeah,
general
yeah.
public either.
Well, what I see is they're going to hide more taxes under those like umbrellas or those under those titles. Like they're going to make it to seem like, oh, development fees, we're going to have to charge you more because like
Right.
it's going to cost us more money to develop like the area, the infrastructure. But really, they can just sneak in a little bit more money or tax with the builders, and then like, well, we don't know. The public won't know. How would you know? This is like another way.
There's
to
another
like,
thing. Now that we're on the topic of like building homes and whatnot, so obviously we were talking previously about the 25,000 homes that were planned for the next 8 years, right?
Yeah, 8 years.
The city doesn't know how to build.
They're going to be developers apparently.
right.
They're going to build.
Okay, let's just say right now they don't really know how to build stuff properly. We've kind of established that with track record and whatnot.
They don't know how to stay on
Well,
budget.
who
so-
are
They don't know how to manage.
They
We're talking about
they need to manage their money well. So let's just say they get their money and they are going to develop and buy all this stuff. Are they going to do it well? Are they going to go over budget? Can they even deliver what they said?
I vote over budget.
Well, it's kind of like the LRT. They plan this. Now it's how
they
many years behind?
They outsource.
Well, they always outsource it. They say they're going to build. They said they're not going to get their own cranes. It doesn't make sense. Again, they're going to have to hire contractors. Concrete guys. None of it is like city employees.
Yeah, it comes down to efficiency.
Yeah.
Government will never be as efficient as private.
Never
because they don't have to be accountable.
Well, I mean, they have a budget, and if it blows over, they're like, oh,
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't
over
matter
budget.
because they're essentially a giant monopoly,
Yeah.
right?
So they built.
So
they built
I don't think they can build good products.
well, no, they built 407.
On budget.
They built
And then they sold it.
Skydome, and then they sold it
it.
for a dime.
Yep.
For
Dime on a dollar.
yeah.
Okay,
Who's
Rod is
benefiting
telling
now?
me it's about time to go, so I'm going to end it off.
Is it almost
What are you
time?
talking about?
What are you talking about? You're like pointing here. So, anyways, Rod says it's time to go, and we had a very good
right.
talk, man.
Time to
that was a good conversation.
Congratulations to Olivia.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah.
All right,
Congrats,
man.
congrats.
Congrats to
Dun, dun, dun.
Toronto's new mayor.
Yeah.
Look at his poker face. He looked at the
I don't know
camera.
if he's serious or not anymore, man. That's the
Poker
thing.
face.
I live in
Remains to
Vaughan.
be seen, guys. Remains to be seen.
York region, baby.
Yeah.
All right, bye, guys.
Later.
Thanks,
Better.
man.